Good afternoon. Happy Friday, everybody. My name is Amanda. This is Barre Sculpt. Let's go ahead and start with a nice warm up here. Let me get our timer going. Just a nice standing in place, nice high knees, big inhales, big exhales. So for today's class, optional equipment includes a bar. You can also use a ledge. You can use a chair. You can use a countertop, a chair, sofa. You can also use a set of light weights or candles. You can also use water bottles or just your own body weight. Go ahead and come to an alternating side extension, long line of the body as you extend the same arm, same leg, long in opposite directions. Nice long extensions here. Let's do one more on each side. Coming from a standing position, alternating opposite knee up and over for a nice hip opener. Coming over into a side lunge, chin and chest stays lifted. One more, then we're going to come down and stay in our low wide squat. There, while your hips, toes turned out, reach your arms out by your side. Reach down, tapping the opposite inside ankle. Chin and chest stays nice and lifted. Few more just like this. Staying low in your squat, chest lifted, arms in a forward motion, warming up your shoulders. Go ahead and reverse the direction, keeping your shoulders stacked over your hips. And then slightly hinge forward, staying low in that squat. Hinge forward the way, give yourself a nice big hug, and then squeeze your shoulder blades together as you open up the arms for a nice rotation. A few more breaths here. Come on down to a runner's lunge, left leg forward, pressing into your left knee. Avoid letting your knee pass your toes. Open up your right hip on this side, and then draw your hips back as you straighten your front left leg. Maybe point and flex your toes, circle out your ankle. And then quickly switching sides. Big step forward with your right foot, pressing into your right knee, opening up your left hip on this side. Straightening your front right leg as you draw your hips back, doing what feels good on your right ankle, maybe circling out that ankle, point and flex. Come on up to a standing position, roll your shoulder blades back, roll them forward, and let's grab our set of light weights. I'm going to fluctuate between 1 and 3 pounds. Feel free to go heavier, go lighter, or do no weights at all. This workout is for you. All right, coming into our first move here, we have a reverse chest fly with a curtsy. Nice soft arms, curtsy lunge, chin and chest stays nice and lifted. Keeping it going here. Nice open of the chest, working the corner muscles of your chest here with the upper body, inner and outer thigh work with the curtsy. Keeping it going. You got this. Few more movements just like this. Maybe stepping that right leg further back behind the left, nice diagonal flow. If it's too much to do the lower body and the upper body, just focus on the lower body here. Chest is nice and lifted. Few more here. From a standing position, we're going to go ahead and still work that right side as we lift the back right leg up. Tiny lifts here. Core is engaged. Slightly hinge forward, keeping that soft bend and your standing left leg grounding through the sole of your left foot. At this point, you can also hold on to that ledge. You can grab onto a bar or a chair if you have it with your left hand. So working that right side body, avoid opening up the hip, keeping the hips parallel facing down, working the lower glute on the right side. Just lift and lower. You can keep your hands at your waist, add a little more heat to your core. Tiny lift, tiny lower. Right foot is relaxed. Core is engaged. Keeping it going just like this. Gaze remains forward. Relax your shoulders, avoid scrunching them up towards your ears. Relax your forehead. Last 3, 2, and 1. Hold it lifted. Tiny little pulses here. A little pulse, feeling that slight pinch in your lower right glute. Gaze remains forward, core is engaged, keeping that soft bend in your standing left knee. Avoid locking out the left knee. Really grounding through the sole of your left foot, keeping it going. Tiny lifts here. Of course, if at any time you need to grab water, please do so. Little lift with the back right leg. Right foot remains relaxed. Keeping it going. Shoulders relaxed. Avoid scrunching up from your ears. Relax your forehead. Keeping it going. Tiny little lifts. Almost there. Last 5. Keeping it going. You got it. Last one. Go ahead and shake out. We're still going to work that right side. From this position, we're going to draw our elbows in, coming into a 90-degree elbow bend. Palms are facing inward. We have our arm raises as we lift that right leg out to the side, flexing the right toes, straight right leg, keeping it going, really grounding through your left leg. So we're working that right side continually, working that outer hip pocket on the right side. Elbows remain bent at elbows remain bent at 90. Elbows raised, elbows lower, palms are facing inward, chest is lifted. Keeping it going. If you get a little twinge in your left leg, just shake it out. Come right back into it. You got this. This is your workout. Make it your own. Still going. Right side leg lifts. 90-degree elbow raise and lower for 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and come. Still working that right leg. We're going to have hammer curls with a right leg lift. Soft bend and that right knee. Palms remain facing in. That right toe is still flexed, keeping that soft, slight bend, and your standing left leg. Core is nice and engaged. Using your lower abs to get that right leg even higher. Thigh up to hip height, maybe higher. You got this. Elbows stay close into your sides. Palms are facing in. Gaze remains forward. Moving with control. If you need to set the right leg down and come back into it, that is perfectly fine. Right leg forward, raise with the hammer curl. Palms are facing inward. We're going to hold that leg lifted in 5. Last 3, 2, and 1. Hold that leg lifted. At this point, you can grab onto that bar or ledge with your left hand if you'd like. Holding that right leg lifted, just extend the leg straight and then tiny bend. Extend and then bend. So you're not lowering that right thigh. You're keeping it nice and high, nice and lifted. Right toes remain flexed. Working the top of your right thigh here. Shoulders remain stacked over your hips. Core is nice and engaged. Squeezing your left glute. Keep it going. Whether you're holding on with your left hand to a bar, a ledge, keeping it going. You got this. A few more just like this. Then we're going to switch over to that left side, keeping everything nice and symmetrical. Still going, still moving. Last 5. And 1. Go ahead and shake it out. Come back, center yourself. We have that reverse fly with a left curtsy this time. Slow and controlled movements. Chest remains lifted. Maybe drawing that left leg back further on the diagonal. Grounding through the sole of your right foot. Soft bend in your elbows. Moving with control here. Chest stays nice and lifted. Relax your shoulders. Slow it down as much as you need to. Core remains nice and engaged. Working the inner and outer thighs. Almost there. We have the back leg lifts on the left side coming up next. Keeping it going. Last 3 here. All right, finishing up wherever you're at. At this point, you can grab your right hand or your right side onto that bar or that ledge, flexing the foot, just the left leg lifts and lowers. Once again, working into the base of your seat on the left side, working the lower glutes, Grounding through the sole of your right foot, soft bend in your right knee, slightly hinging forward. You can also work from a more upright position, just limiting your range of motion. If you're more upright, if you're hinged slightly forward, you can increase that range of motion. Doing whatever works for you, making this workout your own. Hands can be on your hips or using that leverage with your right hand. Little lift and lower of the left leg. We're going to hold it and pulse it in 5. Keeping it going. Stick with it. All right, hold that left leg lifted. Little lifts here. Tiny lifts, tiny movements. Core remains engaged. Same thing. You can work from more of an upright position, limiting your range of motion. If your foot is still on the floor and you're just squeezing that left glute, that is perfectly fine. Making this workout your own. Tiny lifts, holding at the highest point possible, and then lifting from there, squeezing the base of your left glute. Still going, still moving. Of course, if at any time you need to grab water, please do so. Please take a break whenever you need to. Come back into it. We'll be right here waiting for you. You got it. Tiny lifts and lowers. We're going to work that side outer hip pocket on the left side. Coming up next, just a few more just like this. Stick with it. Keep it going. All right. Go ahead and shake it out. From here, we have our palms facing up. Elbows are still bent at 90 once again. And we have our arm raised and lowers, working that left outer seat pocket. Palms are facing upward this time. So really grounding through your right leg. And once again, to find more balance, you can also still hold on to that ledge or that chair and just working the left arm and the left leg. Core remains engaged, so you're extending that left leg directly out from the left side, not bringing it forward, not bringing it back, keeping it going. Palms facing upward, grounding through the sole of your right foot, keeping that right knee nice and bent, chest is lifted. Still going. We're going to work the top of that thigh with forward lifts. Coming up next, stick with it. Last 2. And 1. Go ahead and come back. Send yourself. Catch your breath. Shake it out. Palms remain facing upward. Soft bend your knees. We have bicep curls with a front left leg lift. Once again, working that top of your left thigh. Left toes are flexed. Core is engaged. Soft bend in your standing right knee. Keeping it going. Lifting that left leg nice and high. Using your lower abs to draw that knee up nice and high, keeping that soft bend in both of your knees. Left toes remain flexed. You got it. Keeping it going. Palms facing up, bicep curl as you simultaneously work the top of your left thigh. Core remains engaged. Squeeze your glutes, grounding through the sole of your right foot, keeping yourself nice and stable. Always an option to hold on with your right side. We're going to hold that leg lifted. Go ahead and hold it lifted. Tiny little extend and bend. If you find you get a little bit wobbly, try to recenter yourself. Focus your gaze directly in front of you. Avoid looking left or right. Don't worry, I'll tell you what's coming up next. Just a bend and extend, taking out any bend that you have in that left knee and then drawing that bend back in. Keeping your left thigh lifted, using your lower abs. Maybe lifted an inch or 2 higher. You can do it. Keeping that soft bend in your right standing knee. You're more than halfway through this move. Keeping it going. Core is nice and engaged. You got it. We're almost there. Still going. Still moving. Last 10. Last 5. All right. Bringing your feet hip width apart and parallel. We have server arms with a nice low hip width squat. So you're grounding through your feet. Your knees and your feet are hip width apart. So as you come down low in your squat, Chest remains lifted. Imagine you're sticking your bum back, trying to sit into a chair, grounding through both of your feet. Core is nice and engaged. Server arms, palms facing up. Imagine maybe you have a serving tray of cookies, maybe lemonade for this nice warm weather, depending on where you're located. Keeping it going. Soft bend the knees and coming back to standing. Moving with control. Almost there. Still going, still moving. Palms are facing up, shoulders relaxed. Last 2 and 1. Go ahead and bring your heels together, toes are apart. Rise up on your tippy toes, whether it's high heels or low heels, and then re-glue your heels together. Bend your knees down so you're coming to a first position plie. Soft bend your elbows, and then alternating cross-body raises as you keep your hips and your shoulders nice and low. Avoid scrunching your shoulders up towards your ears. Squeeze your ankles together, engaging those inner thighs. Shoulders remain stacked over your hips. Keeping it going. Gazes forward. Engage your core. Squeeze your glutes, keeping that soft bend in your elbows. Alternating cross-body raises. Still going. We're going to add some pulses next. Last 3, 2, and 1. Finish up wherever you're at. We're going to pulse down as you extend your arms forward and then pull them back in. Palms are facing up. Keeping it going. Tiny pulses. You can once again hold on to that leg with the right side. We'll switch sides halfway through. That way you get both sides if you are using that ledge or a bar. Keeping it going. Go ahead and switch sides. Still lower high heels. Extending your arms out as you pulse down. Imagine you're sliding down a wall behind you so your back is nice and flat. Shoulders remain stacked over your hips the entire time. Keeping it going. Almost there. You got it. Low plie. Go ahead and come back to center. From here, we're going to extend our feet out to a wide second. Feet are wide in your hips, toes slightly turned out. Bend your knees, coming down to a low plie. Your back is nice and flat, tucking your hips under so no booty sticking out. Nice flat backs. Knees are open, keeping your knees tracking out over your toes. From here, we have alternating heel raises. Right and then left. You can have your arms down in front. You can have your hands by your side, working the inner and outer thighs. Bonus calf work here as you lift and lower the heels. Slow and controlled. As you lift the heels, avoid letting your upper body lean up or lean forward, keeping everything nice and low. So it looks like from your waist up is not moving, just your heels. Go ahead and hold it here. You can hold the feet flat, low heels, or on your tippy toes. We're going to have the elbows nice and wide for a candlestick bicep curl. Palms are facing upward. Whether your feet are flat, you're on those low heels, or you're on your tippy toes. Hips are nice and low. Maybe sink your hips an inch or two lower. Chest is lifted. Shoulders are stacked over your hips. Palms are facing up. Working back into the upper body as we hold the lower body super low. Keeping it going. Almost there. You got it. So close. Looking so strong. Palms are facing upward. Arms are extended nice and wide. We're going to draw the heels back together in 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and draw the heels back together. This time we're going to rise up on the highest tippy toes that we can and then glue the heels together. Bend the knees down. From here, palms are facing in, knuckles on your shoulders. We have alternating shoulder press. Trying to keep your hips nice and low. Chest is lifted. Squeeze your heels together. You got it. Moving with control. Slow it down as much as you need to. Not going for speed on these. Almost there. Still going. Still moving. Keep your core nice and engaged. Heels are glued in towards one another. We're going to come down to an assisted side plank in 5. Last 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and come on down, keeping one weight with you. Left hand down, left knee down, and then we're going to extend our right leg long. So your left wrist is directly under your shoulder. We're going to draw our left arm overhead. We're going to lift our left leg as our left arm leans towards our left leg. Strong point through your toes. Core is nice and engaged. Keep it going, moving with control here. Side plank, straight leg raise and lowers. Almost there. You got this. Working so strong. So you're working arm and leg are moving away from one another and then towards each other. Think about reaching your left fingertips towards your left toes. Core is engaged. Hips are stacked. Keep it going. Keep everything nice and lifted. From here, we're going to go ahead and draw our right elbow wide behind our head, and then we're going to draw our right knee to our right elbow and then extend our leg straight. Slow and controlled movements here. Working once again that outer pocket on the right side, knee into elbow. You can also keep your hand on your waist and just draw your knee up towards your shoulder. Keeping it going. Almost there. Moving with control. Strong point through your right toes. Lengthening that right leg muscle. Core remains nice and engaged. Keeping it going. Last 5. All right, go ahead and shake it. We're going to switch sides, placing the weight in your left hand, coming down onto your right wrist, your right knee. Your right wrist is directly under your right shoulder. Extend your left arm overhead. Extend your left leg nice and long, strong point to the toes. As you lift your left leg, extend your left fingertips towards your toes. Strong point through your toes. Chest is lifted, keeping your left hip stacked directly on top of your right. Keeping it going. Long line of energy. Moving with control. Moving with your breath. Slow it down as much as you need to. Gaze can be forward. You're also welcome to look up towards the ceiling or down towards your right fingertips. We're going to add that bend into the top left knee. Coming up next. Keeping it going. Go ahead and keep that left elbow wide behind your head. Left leg remains lifted. And then we're going to draw that left knee in towards your left elbow. Maybe it touches, maybe it just comes super close. Keeping it going. Full range of motion. Left knee to left elbow. And then extend that leg straight back. You're also welcome to keep that left hand on your hip and just drawing that left knee up to your left shoulder. Avoid coming in towards your rib cage. Nice wide range of motion. Still going. Still moving. You got this. Keeping it going. Strong point through that left toe. Almost there. Stick with it for 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and come down onto the floor, grabbing both weights, one in each hand, laying onto your back. Draw your heels so you're in a butterfly position. Soles of your feet are together. Arms are overhead. We have a skull crusher into a hip lift, glute bridge. So just raising your hips. Your shoulders are remaining flat on the floor. Imagine somebody has a string on your hips and they're lifting them up, alternating tricep extensions, drawing your knuckles towards your hairline, and lifting and lowering your hips. Knees remain nice and wide, soles of your feet together, so your pinky side of your foot down to the outside of your heels pressed into the mat. Keeping it going. Almost there. We're going to come into some core work next, still laying onto your back. All right, go ahead and keep one weight in your right hand. We're going to draw the knees into a tabletop position. Knees are over your hips, bent at 90. We're going to draw the left elbow wide behind the head. From here, right leg remains still. We're going to extend the left leg and then bend. As you bend the leg, draw the right arm across the body to the outside of your left leg and then back down. So single leg bicycle, just the left leg is moving. As you draw the left knee back over the hip in line with your right, you're going to reach your right arm to the outside of your right knee, keeping it going, reaching for your left knee, maybe your left calf, maybe your left pinky toes. Core is engaged, lower back is pressed into the mat the entire time. Keeping it going here. Shoulders are lifted, chin lifted off of your chest. Last 3, 2, grab your second set of weights with both knees bent at 90. We have bicycle legs with weighted arms. So same arm, same leg is moving. You can keep your shoulders lifted. You can also rest your head down, focusing on the abs. Working those biceps, palms are facing inward, elbows are lifted off of the floor an inch or two from your ribs. Same arm, same leg extends. If your lower back lifts up or if you have any discomfort whatsoever in your lower back, just raise your legs higher to the ceiling and don't lower them as close to the ground. For more of a challenge, extend your legs long, close to a hover without touching. Strong point through your toes. Keeping it going. We're going to set that weight down on the right hand in just a few. I didn't forget about the other side. We'll do that one next. Keeping it going. Long line of energy. Draw both knees to a tabletop. Set the weight down with your right hand. Right elbow wide behind the head. Right leg extends long. Comes back to 90. Left arm reaches to the outside of your right leg. And then back. So your left leg this time is completely still. It's not moving. Not going for speed on this one. Slow and controlled. Right leg extends. Back to tabletop. Left arm reaches out across to the outside of your right knee. Maybe reaching for the outside of your right pinky. Reaching for whatever you can. Keeping everything symmetrical. Keeping it going. Looking so strong. You got this. Just the right leg is moving. Left arm reaches across. We're going to come into a tabletop position next. Go ahead and set that weight down with your left hand. Come on over to a tabletop with your wrists directly under your shoulders. Knees are under your hips. We're going to work into that lower body one more time. Extend your right leg long, flexing the foot, straight right leg. We're just going to lift and lower that right leg. So drawing that right leg up, straight right leg, strong flex of the foot. Gaze is down between your thumb and your pinkies. Core is engaged. Avoid hammocking your belly or arching your spine. Keeping it going. Limited range of motion. Avoid opening up the hips. So you're keeping both of your hips facing down towards the floor beneath you. Imagining that your hips are headlights guiding you along the way. Just to lift and lower while the right leg, straight right leg, right toes are flexed. Keeping it going. We're going to hold that right leg lifted. Go ahead and bend the knee, keeping that foot flexed. And we have little presses up. Tiny movements here. Still, your hips are facing down. Gaze remains down to avoid straining your neck, looking side to side. Little presses up. Sole of your foot pressed up towards the ceiling. Imagining you're pressing the sole of your foot. You're stamping it into the ceiling. We're going to point that toe in 3, 2, and 1. Continue pressing up, but keeping the toe pointed. Avoid trying to let your knee come below your hip, keeping it nice and high, squeezing and working the base of your right glute a little bit more. Tiny movements here. Still going, still moving. Strong point through the toes. Tiny movements here. We're going to straighten that leg again and add some movement. Go ahead and straighten that leg, extend it directly back behind you. Toes are on the floor. We're going to round that leg up and over to the side and up and towards the back. Little movements here. So we're not going super high, just coming hip height over to the side and then back. Core remains engaged. Avoid opening up the hip. So maybe with a smaller range of motion, maybe you're coming back to the diagonal. Tiny movements here, tiny lifts, keeping it going, controlled movements, doing what you can today. Few more just like this. Right leg extends back and then to the side. Go ahead and keep your leg out to the side. However, if it's out from your hip or back to the diagonal, go ahead and come down onto your left forearm, boxing out your right arm, and then lift your right leg and then bend your heel towards your seat, flex your foot, and then tiny presses back. So you're working that outermost pocket of your right glute here. You're keeping your hips nice and open, right toe is flexed, tiny presses. Imagine you're stomping your foot diagonally behind you, keeping it going. Avoid pressing your weight into your left knee. If you feel like you are, shift your weight more so to the right and keep that heel press going. Core is engaged. Keep it going. A few more on this side. Then we're going to repeat the same thing on the left side, keeping everything symmetrical. And 2, and 1. Set that right leg down. Go ahead and shake it out. Come back to your tabletop. Wrists are under your shoulders, knees are under your hips. Extend your left leg straight back behind you. Strong flex through your left foot, relaxing your right foot. We already worked that side. And just your left leg lifts and lowers, working into the base of your left glute. Again, gaze remains down between your thumb and index. Avoid straining your neck, looking from side to side. Keeping it going, lift and lower. Maybe getting that left leg straighter. Maybe flexing your toes more. Avoid opening up your left hip. So both hips are facing directly down. Core is nice and engaged. Avoid arching your spine. Tiny raise and lower. Straight left leg. We're going to bend that leg in 5. Keeping it going. Hold that left leg up. Bend your heel close in toward your seat to a 90-degree bend, and then keep that foot flexed. Pressing up here, working more so into the base of that glute, into the base of your seat here. Core remains nice and engaged for a flat, neutral spine. Really grounding through your fingertips. Tiny presses up. We're going to point that toe in 3, 2, and 1. Point the toes, still pressing up, keeping it going. Full minute of work here. You got this. Core is nice and engaged. Almost there. Tiny presses up, keeping your neck at neutral spine by gazing down between your thumb and index finger. Core is engaged. Hips are parallel to the floor beneath you. We're going to straighten that leg and add some side movements in 3, 2, and 1. Extend that left leg straight back behind you, and then up and over. Strong point through your toes. Straight left leg. Keeping your hips facing down. So maybe your range of motion is smaller. If you find that you're opening up your hip to keep your range of motion larger, just lessen that range of motion. Maybe one side's a little bit less flexible than the other. Completely normal. Keeping it going, moving here with control. Point the toes more, straighten the left leg more, working that outer seat pocket and simultaneously that lower glute. Almost there. Few more just like this. Push through them. We're going to bend that knee, working that outermost glute pocket on the left side. And 3. Last 2 and 1. Hold that leg out to the side as far as you can. Come down onto your right forearm, keeping that left arm boxed out, and then extend your left leg up. Draw your heel into your seat. Flex your foot from here. Little presses back. So you're going to feel a slight pinch in your back left glute. Don't worry. This is it for our lower body. We're going to do some core work next. Keeping it going. Keeping your right forearm down. Left arm is boxed out. Avoid leaning into the right side. If you find that you are, just draw your hand closer in towards the left side. Core remains engaged, keeping your left hip open this time. Left toes flexed. Last 10. Then we're going to come laying onto our back, onto our forearms. You got this. Tiny presses up. All right, release that left leg down. Go ahead and come laying onto your bum. No equipment is needed. Roll back onto your forearms. From here, draw your legs into a tabletop. Strong point through your toes, and we have right toe tap to a left. So that left leg is completely still, core is engaged, drawing your navel deep into your spine. Just the right toes tap and come back up. You can have your palms facing down or palms facing up. You can also lay all the way back if the forearms hurt. Most important thing is that you're drawing your navel deep into your spine and that your core is engaged, whether you are on your forearms or laying all the way down. Right toes tap, come back to center. Left leg is completely still. Keeping it going, just working that right oblique. Hold the right leg still. Now we're going to work into the left side. Left toes tap, come back to center. Keeping that core nice and engaged. If you find that your lower abs are starting to rise up, don't lower your toes as far. Only lower them as far as you can by keeping your navel pulled into your spine. That right leg is completely still, not moving. Keeping it going. Left toes tap and come center. You're also welcome to lay all the way back onto your back. You can place your hands under your bum for more support. Left toes tap and come center. Keeping it going. Core is nice and engaged on your forearms or laying all the way back. Left toes tap, come back to center. Go ahead and hold both knees bent at 90. Toes are still pointed. We're going to extend the legs straight and then bend. So full extension and then bending the knees back to 90. For more of a challenge, keep your knees further away from your hips. So if they're directly over your hips, that's fine. Don't draw them close into your chest. That makes it too easy. So directly over your knees or further away if you want to add more heat to your core, and then full extension and then bend. And that goes whether you are laying on your back or you're on your forearms. Still going, still moving, full range of motion, full extension, and then bending the knees, whether your knees are over your hips or further away from your upper body. Keeping it going. We're going to hold the legs straight in 2 and 1, holding the legs straight. leg raise and legs lower, raising them as high as you need to, lowering them as low as you're able to. So same thing here, keeping your core nice and engaged, drawing your navel deep into your spine, keeping it going. If you find that your abs are billowing out, lower your legs as far as you can without that happening. By strengthening your core, legs raise and legs lower, full range of motion here. Keeping it going, leg raise and legs lower, still going, moving with control. Almost there. Keeping it going, legs lower, legs raise for 5. Last 3, 2, and 1. Draw your feet down, gluing your feet into the floor. Feet are hip width apart and parallel. Go ahead and grab your weights once more. We're going to keep the elbows close into the side. We have a neutral press. Palms are facing in as you lift the hips up, finishing with our glutes, working into your thighs, working your upper body. Core is engaged the entire time. Maybe just barely tapping down before lifting back up again. Knees and feet remain hip width apart and parallel. Avoid bringing your knees towards one another into a knock-kneed position. Keeping that tension on your thighs. Arms raise, arms lower. Keeping it going. Full body stretch coming up next. Squeeze your glutes even higher each time. Shoulders remain pressed into the floor. Last 3, 2, and 1. Set your weights down. From here, draw your knees into your chest. Maybe roll from side to side for a nice lower back stretch. And then whenever you're done, find a center position. Rock and roll yourself a few times along your spine, as many times as you'd like, before coming up to a seated position. Extending your right leg long, drawing the sole of your left foot into your right thigh. Strong point through your right leg. Drawing your right arm down to the inside of your right leg. Left arm reaches up overhead. Chin and chest is lifted, elongating the left side of your body for a nice deep stretch. On your next exhale, gently bring your left arm down, nose to knee, heart to thigh, framing both of your arms on your right leg. Maybe getting a little bit deeper. And then gently rolling up on your next exhale, switching sides. Extend your left leg long, strong point through your toes, drawing the sole of your right foot into your left leg. Left arm comes down to the inside of your left leg. Right arm reaches up overhead for a nice elongated stretch all along the right side body. Chin and chest remains lifted. Holding here for one more breath. And on your next exhale, gently bring your right arm down, nose to knee, heart to thigh. Framing both of your arms around your left leg, keeping that strong point through your left toes. And then gently rolling up on your next exhale. Go ahead and bring the soles of your feet together, butterflying your knees out. Nice proud chest, shoulders are lifted. You're welcome to keep it here if you'd like a lower, deep stretch, lower in your back. Extend your legs out, making more of a diamond shape. Draw your hands underneath your calves and then place your palms on top of the shoelace portion of your feet. Elongate your spine and then roll your body forward, drawing your forehead towards your toes. And holding it here for one more breath. And then gently rolling up on your next exhale. Cross your right arm across your body. Open and switch. And then go ahead and come on up to a standing position with your feet wider than your hips. Go ahead and come down for a nice big stretch. Arms reach up overhead. Let's do one more for good luck. And strong exhale. Fantastic work, everyone. Thank you again. My name's Amanda, and this is Barre Sculpt. Hope to see you next time. Have a good one.